Gadzuk. I am an assemblage artist from the high desert in Southern California outside of Joshua Tree. I'm currently exhibiting my newest body of work at Luz de Jesus Gallery with a show called Love Languages that runs through July 6th. As assemblage art, as we've seen from the Lost and Found show that I was part of at Luz de Jesus last year, and many other assemblage artists were a part of as well, it encompasses so much. Assemblage to me is, I don't know, kind of like three-dimensional collage. It's taking something that maybe had a certain use at one time and repurposing it into something completely new. I mean, I feel like what I do is kind of altar building. You know, most of my work has an altar-like feel to it, and I do feel like I'm taking humble materials for the most part, and just imbuing them with this energy that gives them a new life and turns them into something holy, which means that holiness was already there. I'm not sure if there's one particular narrative or theme going through all of it, but I'm often asked if I was raised Catholic, because a lot of my work tends to include a lot of religious iconography and imagery. And the answer to that is no, and that surprises a lot of people. I was not raised in the church. I did have a lot of exposure to traveling in Europe when I was a child, so I think maybe in doing so, I was exposed to a lot of, ancient ruins and churches and cathedrals in Italy and in France, and that may have just like planted some seeds somewhere in my brain that helps me kind of produce what I tend to gravitate towards now, which is religious iconography. I don't know why. It's just what comes out. And, the name of the show is Love Languages. So a lot of the stuff has to do with how we express love, what love means to us, what love means in the greater collective. A lot of religious iconography and that type of thing is really about humanizing an essence or an ideal. I'm really inspired by old Gothic architecture, churches, ancient ruins, just structures. I love structures. That's why I love skeletons. I love bones. I love arches. I love stained glass windows. Fashion, like cutting edge fashion. Alexander McQueen, Terry Mugler, Jean-Paul Gaultier. There was an artist that I discovered then that I saw in Vogue magazine, of all things. Her name is Kathy de Monchaux, and she is somebody who really takes that notion of hard and the soft. She works with lead and velvet and things like that. I do have a soft spot for the piece that's called "And I'll Be Waiting Here for You with Open Arms." It's the oval piece that has the pink velvet. And that's, a perfect example of the juxtaposition of the hard and the soft, of the brutal and the tender. It's got like a big old rusty saw blade with this really soft pink velvet, crocheted hearts. And it's an homage to my paternal grandmother. Her name was Anne Wood. I actually wrote a little poem that accompanies the piece. So if anybody buys the piece, I will include a framed copy of the poem with that as well. Sometimes I actually use my artwork as writing prompts instead of the other way around. I've done like a series of novena. I have a little book actually that's available at the gallery. It's called Novenas, where I wrote little poem/prayer to accompany about. It's 9 of my pieces because a novena is typically done for 9 days. And where was I going with that? So in the way that I wrote those was actually looking at the artworks and using that as a prompt and just like specifically like responding to visual cues in the artwork to write the poems. And so Love is the Law, Love Under Will is not included in this novenas book, but that the title, which my partner Tony Buhagiar kind of helped me come up with this, as well as the title for the show. It was, it's a quote that we use because it's something that we try to live by. But it also was like, it was right there in the piece, it's like love. It's all about love. There's a big heart, and then there's a hand at the top. It's like love under will. There's the will, there's the heart, there's the love. Memory jug. It's kind of an art form that's based off of old African folk art, and I was really introduced kind of formally to the concept by an artist named Lori Beth Zuckerman, who I don't know personally, but I've seen her work in books, and we follow each other on Instagram, and she is a just tremendous master altar builder. And the memory jugs are just, they're pretty special to me because it's a new thing that I'm working with. And, like I said, I always love the new thing. I love exploring and pushing. And it's, again, the vessel. I guess I'm drawn to vessels in some way. Because, like I said, we as humans are vessels. We're spirit holders, and I think that's what I look at memory jugs as. In the process of making them, that's kind of become apparent to me. They're also referred to as ugly jugs, and that's just a nod to the crudeness that can be a part of the art form. A lot of them are done by children. They're done to honor, oftentimes, people who have passed. It's like a little memorial. It's kind of a keepsake holder. So, I did my first memory jug. I'm showing 3 memory jugs in the show right now. And the first one that I ever made is called Secrets of the Heart. And that just kind of talks about, it's a vessel and these things that we hold kind of close right here in this vessel, this human vessel. Our heart is like inside of this human vessel. Time will tell, make a wish. And it has more of a churchy cathedral vibe. It was kind of, I started with something that looked like a stained glass rose window and just kind of built off of that. And then the third one is called What Lies What Lies Beneath. And that one is referring basically to bones, skeletons is what lies beneath our surface, and what lies beneath, the surface of any animal. As far as where I get my materials from, pretty much anywhere. Boxes and bags of leftover old tools, bottle caps, vintage jewelry. I trash pick, walking through the desert, picking up bones, picking up dried desert flora, cactus spines, cactus cholla skeletons, rusty hardware, rusty nails. I love rust. A lot of the pieces that I used in the work that I'm currently showing at La Luz came from an old trophy factory. I work at a Buddhist monastery as a caregiver for a nun, and there's a property that's adjacent to the monastery that was burned down, and I was invited to kind of pick through there, and in doing so I discovered that it's an old trophy factory. So such as this, a couple of these, not this exact figure, but some of these figures are in a couple of my pieces in the show. Rusty metal, rusty hardware, rusty nails. There's a piece in the show called Of Wings and Wheels, which is actually the last piece that I did, and it's the biggest one. It's blue. It's got a little angel figure inside, and I have 3 bottle caps on this side that are gold, and then the mirroring side are blue. And that was like a step into asymmetry for me that made me very uncomfortable. And I'm sure nobody else would even like notice that as being asymmetrical, but that's how deeply ingrained it is in me to want to be symmetrical. I can't seem to get away from symmetry, and I'm drawn to symmetrical artworks too. Like I tend to gravitate towards works that other people do that are symmetrical as well. I don't know if it has something to do again with the human body, and just like the human body and the human face. It's another theme that I use in my work is medical waste, inspired by being a caregiver. And the first piece in the show, the first piece as you walk into the gallery is a piece called Wheel of Fortune American Style, which is kind of referring to the medical system in this country and how it's debatable whether the intention is entirely about helping people or is it about money. And I'm sure there's a little bit of both that come into play there. Assemblage is, to me, it's transforming materials that already have a certain integrity to them, and making them vibrate in a new way.